You have heard of Korean glass skin, that poreless, dewy, lit from within, almost ageless look that makes a 60-year-old woman's skin glow like a girl's. And you have almost certainly been sold the way to get it. A 10-step routine, 8 bottles, a shelf of essences and serums and ampules, $200 and rising. Here is what nobody selling you that shelf will ever tell you. The women who actually have that skin, the grandmothers in Korea with smooth, luminous faces at 70, were not raised on a 10-step routine. They were raised on something far older, far simpler, and far cheaper, a system their great-great-grandmothers used 200 years ago that costs about $3 and fits in one bowl. Today I am going to give you that whole system. But stay with me because the cheap ingredient is only the beginning, and the real reason it works is something the modern industry quietly buried under all those expensive bottles. Let me start by killing the lie you have been told your whole life, because until it is gone, none of this will land. The lie is that it is genetics, that Korean women, Japanese women, that whole part of the world simply won the skin lottery, were born with ageless faces, and there is nothing you could ever do to have what they have. That story is enormously convenient for everyone, because if it is genetic, then you are off the hook and so is the truth, and you might as well keep buying. But it is not genetics, and the research is clear on this. When scientists study why some populations show dramatically less visible facial aging at the same age, fewer deep wrinkles, less sagging, more even tone, the answer is almost never the genes. It is behavior. It is what people do to their skin and put into their bodies every single day for 50 years. And once you understand the behaviors, you can borrow every one of them, because habits do not belong to a bloodline. They belong to whoever is willing to do them. So here is the cheap ingredient at the heart of the whole thing, and then I will tell you why it is only half the story. It is rice water, the cloudy, starchy water left behind when you rinse and soak rice. Korean and broader East Asian women have used it on their skin and hair for centuries, since long before anyone had a word like essence or a price tag like $90. A single bag of rice makes months of it. It costs almost nothing. And it is, quite literally, where the modern essence, the centerpiece of that entire 10-step routine, came from in the first place. The industry took the cheapest, oldest beauty water in Asia, refined it, bottled it, gave it a beautiful name, and sold it back to the world at a markup that would make a jeweler blush. But here is what I need you to really understand, and it is the reason most people who try rice water once get bored and quit. The rice water by itself is not the magic. If you splash some on your face a few times and wait for a miracle, you will be disappointed, and you will decide the cheap thing does not work, which is exactly the conclusion the expensive industry is counting on. The magic is not the ingredient, it is the system around it. 3 things working together that the modern routine either forgot or buried: the way it is prepared, the way it is layered onto the skin, and one non-negotiable habit that does more than the rice water ever could. Get those 3 and $3 genuinely rivals the shelf. Miss them and you wasted a bowl of rice. So stay with me, because to understand the system, you first need to understand where it came from and what is actually in that cloudy water. The lineage goes back centuries. In the royal courts of the Joseon dynasty, the women who served the queen and the court used what we now call hanbang, traditional Korean herbal preparations, on their skin: rice, ginseng, green tea, mugwort, honey, fermented soybean. Rice water was the everyday base, the thing every woman had, from the palace to the farmhouse, because every household had rice. And crucially, they did not just use it fresh. They often let it sit, let it ferment, and that one step changed everything, because fermentation is the secret weapon of Korean skincare that the West only recently woke up to. This was not a trend invented for a campaign. This is 200 years and more of an entire culture watching what worked and refusing to let go of it, passed from mother to daughter so many times that nobody even thought of it as a product. It was just what you did. Now let me tell you what is actually in that water, because once you see it, the glow stops being mysterious. Rice water carries a group of compounds that are genuinely good for skin. It contains antioxidants that help defend the skin against the daily damage that ages it. It contains amino acids and natural sugars that hydrate and help the skin hold water, which is the entire foundation of that plump, dewy, glass skin look. Because hydrated skin is smooth skin and dehydrated skin is where fine lines deepen. It contains B vitamins and a compound family related to the brighteners that even outtone and soften the look of dark spots. And when you ferment it, the beneficial compounds become more concentrated and more available to the skin, and the water becomes gently acidic, which is exactly the pH range a healthy skin barrier loves. That is why the fermented version outperforms the fresh one, and why those Josian court women let it sit. They did not know the chemistry, they knew the result. Let me say a little more about fermentation because it really is the quiet genius of this tradition and it is worth understanding. When you let that cloudy rice water sit and ferment, microorganisms go to work on it, and several things happen at once. The beneficial compounds, the antioxidants, amino acids, and B vitamins become more concentrated and easier for the skin to absorb. New beneficial byproducts are created that were not there before, and the water turns gently acidic into the exact pH range a healthy skin barrier lives at, so it supports the barrier rather than disrupting it. Korea, a culture that ferments everything from cabbage to soybeans, understood intuitively, centuries ago, that fermentation makes good things more powerful. The modern industry now sells expensive fermented essences, bragging about the technology as if it were cutting edge. It is 200 years old. And here, finally, is the system. The three things that turn a bowl of rice water into glass skin. The first is preparation. You do not just use the rinse water once and toss it. You make it properly and you ferment it, which I will walk you through exactly in a moment, because fermented rice water is to fresh rice water what a fine wine is to grape juice. The second is the layering, and this is the part the modern routine actually got right before it got greedy. Korean women do not apply one heavy product and call it done. They apply thin, watery layers of hydration and press each one gently into the skin with the palms, letting it sink in before the next, building up deep, lasting hydration in the skin rather than sitting one thick cream on top of it. You can do this entire layering ritual with nothing but your fermented rice water, pressing it in 2 or 3 thin passes, and you have just replicated the expensive essence and toner step for the price of rice. Press, do not rub, always upward and outward, never dragging the skin down. And the third thing in the system is the one that matters more than the rice water, the layering, and every product on that 10-step shelf combined, the non-negotiable habit I promised you. It is sun protection. This is the real reason for the ageless skin, and it is the thing the glass skin marketing almost never puts at the center, because there is no luxury markup on staying out of the sun. Up to 90% of visible facial aging, the wrinkles, the spots, the sagging, the rough texture, comes not from age, but from ultraviolet light, 90%. And sun protection in Korea, like in Japan, is not a beach day afterthought. It is a daily, lifelong discipline. The high protection sunscreen worn every single day, including indoors and on cloudy days, the wide-brimmed hats, the long sleeves, the visors, the walking on the shaded side of the street, the genuine cultural value placed on protecting the skin from the sun rather than chasing a tan. While generations of Western women baked themselves in the sun chasing a glow, an entire culture was quietly doing the one thing that prevents the overwhelming majority of aging. That alone buys a decade. The rice water makes the skin glow today. The sun protection is why the skin still looks young in 40 years. There is a fourth pillar to the system that I have to spell out on its own, because it is the one Western women break most often, and breaking it undoes everything else. It is gentleness. The Korean approach to skin is built on protecting and nurturing the barrier, never attacking it. The Western habit, by contrast, has become a kind of war on the face. Stripping cleansers, gritty scrubs, strong acids piled on strong retinols, a new aggressive active every season. Younger skin survives that abuse, older skin does not, and a damaged barrier is dehydrated, inflamed, reactive skin that ages faster, not slower. The whole logic of the rice water system is the opposite. Cleanse gently so you never strip the skin, hydrate in soft layers, soothe with herbs, seal it all in, and let the skin's own barrier stay strong and intact. Glass skin is not skin scrubbed into submission. It is skin kept calm, hydrated, and protected year after year. If you take one shift from this whole video, let it be that one. Stop fighting your skin and start tending it. There is also a piece of this that works from the inside, and it belongs to the same 200-year system. The traditional Korean diet is built on fermented foods, kimchi, and fermented soybean, and the rest, along with vegetables, seafood, and green tea, and relatively little of the sugar and processed food that drives inflammation and accelerates skin aging in the modern Western diet. Glass skin was never only what you put on the outside. It was also what you put on the inside every day for a lifetime. You do not have to overhaul your whole life to borrow this, but it is worth knowing that the glow was always built on both. Now let me give you the actual how-to, because a system you cannot follow is useless. Here is how you make the fermented rice water. Take about half a cup of plain white rice and rinse it once quickly to remove surface dust. Then add it to 2 cups of clean water and let it soak for about 30 minutes, swirling it now and then until the water turns cloudy and milky. Strain the rice out and keep the cloudy water. Now the key step the modern routine forgot. Pour that water into a clean jar, cover it loosely, and leave it at room temperature for a day, up to 2 days in cooler weather, until it smells faintly sour, which means it has fermented. Then move it to the refrigerator where it will keep for about a week. That is it. A bag of rice that costs a few dollars makes this for months, which works out to pennies a use, against an essence that runs you $90 a bottle. Here is how you use it. After cleansing, on slightly damp skin, soak a cotton pad or simply use your clean hands and press a thin layer of the fermented rice water gently into your face, upward and outward, including down the neck and onto the backs of the hands, the 2 zones that age fastest and that almost everyone forgets. Wait a few seconds for it to sink in, then press in a second thin layer, and if your skin is very dry, a third. This is the layering, and it is the whole secret of the hydration. Then, to seal all that water in, follow with a light moisturizer or a few drops of a simple facial oil over the top, because rice water hydrates, but you still want to lock it in. In the morning, the same hydration steps, and then, without exception, your sunscreen, the most powerful anti-aging step there is, and the one that protects everything else you just did. At night, the hydration layers and a richer seal so your skin repairs in a hydrated state for 8 hours. If you want to build the fuller traditional version, you can lean on the same hanbang ingredients those court women used, all of them cheap. Cooled green tea, rich in antioxidants, can be used as a hydrating splash or mixed into your routine. Mugwort, the soothing herb Korean women have used for centuries, calms redness and irritation in sensitive skin. A tiny touch of honey makes a gentle humectant mask. None of these is expensive, none is exotic, and together they are the original 200-year-old version of the glass skin shelf you were about to spend a fortune on. And one more of those old court ingredients deserves a word, because it is having a moment the industry pretends is new. Ginseng. In hanbang tradition, ginseng was prized for the skin, believed to revive, firm, and energize a tired complexion, and it now turns up in some of the most expensive anti-aging creams on earth, marketed as a discovery. Korean women were steeping it and using it on their skin for centuries. You do not need the $80 ginseng cream to benefit from the tradition. The tradition is the source, and the cream is just the markup. Trace almost anything on that glass skin shelf back far enough and you arrive at a farmhouse, a bowl, and a woman who never paid more than a few coins for it. Now this works on your skin too, and I want to be direct about that because the genetics lie makes women think it is pointless to even try. It is not pointless. Hydration, barrier support, antioxidants, gentle handling, and sun protection improve skin at any age and in any ethnicity because they work on universal skin biology, not on a bloodline. If you are already 60, if the lines are already there, this still helps, because well-hydrated, protected skin looks visibly better than dry, sun-damaged skin at every single age. The woman who starts this at 60 looks better at 70 than the woman who did nothing. it is genuinely never too late to start because the skin responds to hydration and protection the day you begin. Let me name the mistakes that make people quit this before it works, because almost everyone makes at least one. The first is using fresh rice water instead of fermented and wondering why it feels like nothing when the fermentation is most of the point. The second is impatience, splashing it on for a week, seeing no overnight transformation, and giving up when skin works on a timeline of weeks, not days. The third is skipping the seal, applying the watery layers and then leaving the skin bare, so all that lovely hydration simply evaporates off again within the hour instead of being locked in by a moisturizer or oil. The fourth, and the one that quietly ruins everything, is skipping the sunscreen, which is like bailing water out of a boat while leaving the hole open. And the fifth is going too hard everywhere else, doing this gentle ritual at night and scrubbing the skin raw with harsh products in between, so the barrier never gets the chance to glow. Avoid those five, and the system does exactly what it has done for 200 years. Here is what to actually expect, so your expectations are calibrated and you do not quit at the wrong moment. In the first week or two, the most noticeable change is hydration and a certain softness and dewiness, because that is the fastest thing to shift. Your skin is simply holding more water. Over the following weeks, with consistency, you see the tone even out, a little more brightness, fine lines that look softer because the skin underneath them is plump rather than parched. And over months and years, combined with the daily sun protection, you get the real prize, which is skin that simply ages more slowly than it otherwise would have. The early wins are quick and encouraging. The deep wins are slow, quiet, and worth more than anything in a bottle. Take a photo in natural light the day you start, and another every couple of weeks, because the gradual changes are exactly the ones your daily eye misses and the camera catches. Let me be honest with you though, because the truth protects you better than the hype. I am not a dermatologist, and I'm not telling you Korean women have magic skin you can never have, or that a bowl of rice water will erase a deep wrinkle overnight. It will not. What rice water does is hydrate, brighten, support the barrier, and give skin that smooth, dewy quality, and consistently used as part of the full system, that is a real and visible difference, not a miracle. The genuine heavy lifting on aging is done by the sun protection and the consistency, not by any single splash. A few practical cautions: always patch test on your jaw for a couple of nights first, because even gentle natural things can irritate some skin, and mugwort in particular can bother people with certain plant allergies. Keep your rice water clean and refrigerated, and make a fresh batch weekly, because fermented preparations can spoil and you do not want to put a spoiled batch on your face. And if you have a skin condition or you are on prescription treatments, talk to an actual dermatologist before changing your routine. The honesty is the whole point here, because the people selling you the $90 essence will never tell you it is mostly the cheap thing your great-grandmother already had. Here is what I want you to really take from all of this, because it is bigger than rice water. Glass skin was never a product, it was a practice. A few cheap, gentle, consistent habits done every day for a lifetime, plus a near-religious commitment to keeping the sun off the skin. The modern industry did something clever and quietly cynical with that. It took a simple, ancient, almost free system, broke it into 10 separate steps, put each step in a beautiful bottle, gave each one a scientific-sounding name, and sold the whole thing back to the world as if it had invented it. It did not invent it. It repackaged it, and it priced you out of your own great-grandmother's routine. Korean women are not winning a genetic lottery you lost. They were simply handed a complete, cheap, effective system by the women before them, generation after generation, and never told it was old-fashioned. Now you have been handed the same thing. So tonight, or this weekend, before you buy a single new bottle, make one small jar of rice water, let it ferment, and start pressing it into your skin in thin layers the way those women have for 200 years. Wear the sunscreen every morning like the results depend on it, because they genuinely do. Give it a few weeks of consistency before you judge it, the way you would give any real thing time to work. And watch what happens to skin you had quietly written off as just aging, just dry, just your genetics. It was never your genetics, it was just a system nobody ever handed you, until now. Tell me in the comments whether anyone ever made you believe good skin was something you had to be born with. rather than something you could simply build. And if this is the kind of straight, money-saving truth you have been looking for, the beauty armor is exactly where I keep it coming. Week after week, $3, one bowl, 200 years of women who already knew. The glow was never a secret. It was just never sold to you cheap, because cheap was never the point of selling it.